Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. In the name of the Council of United Circassia and in the name of the Circassian nation in our homeland and in the diaspora, allow me to welcome our guests, participants, and audience to our second international conference about the independence of Circassia. And allow me to briefly explain to you what is the conference about. As we all know, the Circassian nation was forcibly exiled from their homeland, Circassia, after a 152 years of war. 101 years of this period was documented, actually, with the Russian criminal state, regardless of what it was called back that time. The Russian state is a criminal state in all their stages. They were criminals as empire and as Soviet Union, and now we can see their crimes as a federation. Anyway, the Russian criminal invasion on Circassia results were this. 2.5 million were directly killed or exiled from their homeland. 92% of the Circassian population is not existed anymore. They vanished because of the genocide that was made by the Russian criminals. More than 90% of Circassians are now living in diasporas out of their homeland. A Russian criminal occupation is settled now on the Circassian lands, stealing our resources after they destroyed more than 6,000 historical and civilian sites of the Circassian civilization, trying to delete any evidence about the 10,000 years of the Circassian civilization existence on this land, and the fact that we are the original people of this land. They are using our sons in their criminal wars and send them to the front lines by force to die for the ambitions of their sick leaders and criminal state. Everybody in the world knows the opinion of Circassians about the Russian invasions for the peaceful nations. And now we can ask, what do Circassians want? We ask from the free world to recognize our genocide, our lands, our rights on these lands, our rights to be liberals, our rights of liberty and freedom as an exiled European nation who were under the cruel and criminal Russian invasion. Our right of existence on the map of European people. We want our land to be Circassia on the map. We don't want people to refer to us as south of Russia. This is not really showing the real name of this place at all. The real name of this place is Circassia. And we want people to refer to it as Circassia without insulting us with saying the name of South Russia about our countries. We want the right of existence on the map of European people. We want to be there. We want our land to be Circassia on the map of the European maps, even that officially they are showing. We want our cause to be on the surface of the nation's minds again. In the end, I want to say that the Circassian nation is supporting Ukrainians in their war. Slava Ukraine. And we want to thank Ukrainians for their interest in our cause and the support that they are showing. And we want to thank the Polish politicians too for the support that they are doing for our cause. Now, allow me to be your host in this section of the conference. And I want to welcome our first speaker. Our first speaker is a Circassian who was being active in promoting the Circassian issue for many years. And he has been committed to writing and translating articles, sharing and distributing information, giving lectures, and attending conferences, among other efforts. He published Circassia, Born to be Free, The Circassian Miracle, and Circassia and Ukraine, Two Nations, Even Russian Genocide Can Destroy. Allow me to welcome Mr. Adel Bashqawi. Mr. Adel Bashqawi.
Thank you very much for this nice presentation, and I'm honored to participate with you for this important event. I would like to start my paper by saying the title of my paper, which is Circassia is entitled to be an independent nation. The introduction is Circassians are neither ghosts nor aliens from outer space, but indigenous people of their homeland for thousands of years. They have not been a burden of anyone and did not choose to be victims of the heinous Russian Empire's predetermined and premeditated invasion. Instead, they became prey of genocide and atrocities. They did not leave their homeland voluntarily, quite the opposite. The military occupation, widespread destruction, massive civilian casualties, and forced deportations created a true Holocaust that drove them from their beloved homeland involuntarily. Through a standard policy of exclusion, dissociation, and distancing, Russia has consistently sought to undermine Circassian identity. Successive Russian regimes, from the imperial era to the present day, have maintained colonial policies that oppose the Circassian nation's legitimate hopes and aspirations. As highlighted, some Circassian groups are striving to make the Circassian issue more internationally known. The Circassians cannot forever remain as if silent and absent, and let our proverbial reticence detract the chances for the world recognition. Circassia was not created by whim or conquest, but historically recognized the homeland of the indigenous Circassian nation. These people contributed significantly to the advancement of a human civilization, enduring high costs to preserve their identity in the Caucasus. Arthur Walter Richmond, in the Circassian Genocide book, states, quote, Circassia was a small independent nation on the northeastern shore of the Black Sea. For no reason other than ethnic hatred, over hundreds of raids, the Russians drove the Circassians from their homeland and deported them to the Ottoman Empire. At least 600,000 people lost their lives to massacres, starvation, and exposure, while hundreds of thousands more were forced to leave. By 1864, 3/4 of the population had been annihilated, and the Circassians had become one of the first stateless peoples in modern history. Unquote. The name Circassia first appeared in 1245 AD, noted by John di Plano Carpini, Pope Innocent IV's envoy to the Great Khan of Mongols. At that time, Circassians were predominantly Christian. Relations with the Byzantine Empire were pivotal in Circassian history. Christianity spread through diplomatic, ideological, and cultural exchanges during Emperor Justinian's reign. Enal the Great unified the Circassians into one state, creating a significant milestone in their history. He is remembered as a skilled strategist who overcome numerous challenges to consolidate Circassian tribes. Circassian history reflects deep cultural and political complexity. For instance, traditions such as democratic governance emphasized accountability and collectively decision-making. Leaders could quickly lose their position due to errors or corruption, reflecting a civilized and non-primitive society. The Circassian struggle for independence is well documented. In 1836, Circassian princes declared independence at a general assembly along the Oben River. That was during the Russian-Circassian War, of course. The Circassian flag adopted during this period symbolized unity, freedom, and resilience. Russian oppression and historical falsifications. Russia's actions following the occupation of Circassia underscore pattern of historical distortion. For instance, medals awarded for the so-called conquest of the Western Caucasus erased Circassian identity by replacing it with vague geographical terms. Recent Russian policies further suppress Circassian identity. Commemoration events such as rallies for the victims of the Caucasian War have, as been called by the Russians, of course, have been targeted, and activists have faced fines or illegal charges. The destruction of Circassian culture and language is another tool of suppression. Despite initial Soviet efforts to promote local languages, Russian dominance ultimately marginalized native tongues, splitting Circassian into separate alphabets for Adiga and Kabardian dialects. Proposals for a unified Circassian script have faced significant resistance. The Circassian flag, adopted in 1835, embodies national unity and pride, featuring 12 stars and 3 crossed arrows. It symbolizes the strength and resilience of Circassians, both in their homeland and diaspora. Despite Russian attempts to suppress its significance, Circassians worldwide celebrate Flag Day as a testament to their enduring identity. The importance of Circassian identity has to be looked at as well. Circassians are a nation with a rich history, a vibrant culture, and a persistent quest for self-determination. Their struggle for independence is grounded in historical justice and the need to preserve their identity against centuries of oppression. The revival of Circassia in its homeland, stopped or supported by solidarity among the North Caucasus peoples and its diaspora, remains the rightful aspiration for the Circassian nation. Addressing the Council of Europe, the constitutional amendments of Russia promoting Russian language as the primary state-forming language have been criticized for undermining the rights and identities of other ethnic and linguistic groups. This move has heightened concerns about ethnic discrimination, particularly among the peoples of the North Caucasus, including the Circassians. Public resistance of these changes, such as boycotts and academic protests, underscores the discord between the state's actions and the aspirations of minority populations. Cultural and historical erosion. Destruction of archaeological sites. Allegations of black archaeology and unauthorized excavations have raised alarms about the systematic plundering of Circassian heritage. Efforts to erase or misrepresent the Circassian historical legacy, such as removing cultural artifacts, reflect broader colonialist practices. Local resistance has emerged to protect significant sites like the Bolshoi or Vansky Kurgans, which hold immense historical and cultural value. This highlights a community-driven commitment to preserving ancestral heritage. Call for international recognition and assistance. The Circassian community appeals to global entities, including the United Nations and the European Union, to uphold principles of self-determination, human rights, and decolonization. The Circassians assert their right to reclaim their homeland and restore their cultural identity under international law and human rights frameworks. The law of Ukraine, passed in July 2024, establishes a precedent for addressing the rights of indigenous and colonized peoples within the Russian Federation, potentially serving as a model of international advocacy. Cultural expressions of resilience. The Circassian struggle for freedom is vividly encapsulated in literature and poetry. Works like Taras Shevchenko's The Caucasus and Aytak Namitok's writings, as well as Rasim Rushdie, resonate with the historical and emotional depth of Circassian aspirations for independence and cultural preservation. Legal framework and indigenous rights. International legal instruments such as United Nations Declaration on the Rights of Indigenous Peoples affirm the right to self-determination, cultural preservation, and restoration of territories. These principles are fundamental to the Circassian claims. Historical laws of war and principles of humanity, though nascent in the 19th century, underscore the injustices of Russia's colonial campaigns in the Caucasus. Conclusion and recommendations. Circassians demand international recognition of their historical grievances and current rights. This includes the restoration of their homeland and the acknowledgement of their cultural and political sovereignty. Global solidarity is deemed essential to address systematic injustices and to provide the Circassian people with avenues for dialogue, political support, and eventual reconciliation. The Circassian appeal is both a call for justice and a testament to their enduring spirit. It underscores the universal human rights principles of dignity, self-determination, and cultural survival. Thank you for listening, and I will be posting this online sometime today. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much for your nice words. Now, our guest is a long-time specialist on ethnic and religious questions in Eurasia. Most recently, he was Director of Research and Publications at the Azerbaijan Diplomatic Academy. Earlier, he served as Vice Dean for the Social Sciences and Humanities at Odense University in Tallinn, and a Senior Research Associate at the Euro College of the University of Tartu in Estonia. While there, he launched the Window on Eurasia series. Prior to joining faculty there in 2004, he served in various capacities in the U.S. State Department, the Central Intelligence Agency, and the International Broadcasting Bureau, as well as the Voice of America and Radio Free Europe, Radio Liberty. And at the Carnegie Endowment for International Peace. He writes frequently on ethnic and religious issues and has edited 5 volumes on ethnicity and religion in the former Soviet space. Trained at Miami University in Ohio and the University of Chicago, he has been decorated by the governments of Estonia, Latvia, and Lithuania for his work in promoting Baltic independence and the withdrawal of Russian forces for those formerly occupied lands. Mr. Paul Goble. Hello, sir. Mr. Paul?
Microphone is off. Mr. Goble.
Your mic is off, sir.
Yes, I'm trying to. Is it on now?
Yeah, now it's on.
Each of these systems requires that you push a different button, and if I haven't used this system recently, I don't know which button to push. The older I get, the more mistakes I make like that, so I do apologize.
Actually, I had the same problem today, so it's not about age.
Well, it only gets worse. That's the problem. In any case, a year ago, I had the opportunity to speak to an earlier conference of the ICIC, and I am honored and extremely pleased to have the chance to come back and speak with you again. Although I know far less about Circassians and the Circassian cause than almost all of you do, I can present the perspective of a sympathetic and supportive outsider. And that's what I planned to do this morning. As I said a year ago, I was, and I remain quite sure that Circassia is going to be restored, that this will happen within a decade or less, that its independence will be recognized, and that we will all be celebrating an enormous Circassian victory after so many defeats. But at that time, I warned that the very last steps of achieving those goals may very well prove to be the hardest. The ensuing months have made me even more confident, both in my prediction that Circassia will again be independent, and that the path forward is going to be extremely difficult because of Moscow's response to the situation, which curiously has made the outcome possible, but has also made the path to it more difficult. I believe that the Circassian community will be able to overcome these problems only if they face them head on, and thus make good use of the resources they have at their disposal. Today, I would like to revisit some of what I said a year ago and update it because of changes in the international environment. What Circassians need to do to achieve their ends has changed, and in some fundamental ways, and that too needs to be recognized. As I said a year ago, Circassians and their supporters must keep in mind 5 important things as they pursue their goals, and as they are forced to respond to what is certain to be increased use by the Kremlin, not only of its police powers, its diplomatic efforts, and its security services, but its propagandistic effort to dismiss the Circassian cause altogether. Those things that Circassians must keep in mind both point to the resources that Circassians have if they will only use them, and to the difficulties in using those resources. First of all, as you all know, Circassians are uniquely positioned to oppose Moscow among all the non-Russians within the current borders of the Russian Federation, because they have both a large number of increasingly radicalized co-ethnics in their homeland and an even larger number of nationally conscious people in the diaspora. Indeed, the Circassians today have the largest diaspora of any people now within the borders of the Russian Federation or Russian Empire. Moreover, the Circassians, including many who are in this group, have learned to make use of the new social media in ways that mean the actions of one part of the Circassian nation strengthen the position of the other, and that Moscow's moves against one lead to new Russian losses at exactly the same time in the other as well. Second, and this was terribly important a year ago, never before has the Circassian nation had such an important ally as it has in Ukraine. There has never been a more powerful state that is prepared to support what the Circassians are about. Kiev recognizes that the Circassians are a natural ally of the Ukrainians in their struggle against Russian imperialism, and they are increasingly willing to support. The more deeply Russia becomes embroiled in its war of aggression, the more true that will be, and the more the Ukraine can be counted on to support Circassians. I'm afraid that some of the reporting that people see about the difficulties Ukraine is facing fail to understand that dynamic. If anyone had said in 2020 the Ukrainian parliament would come out in favor of Circassia, no one would have believed it. Now, it's only a matter of time until you have increasingly strong declarations in that regard. Third, and this is related to what's going on in Ukraine, the international community increasingly recognized something that they did not want to recognize, and do not, in many cases, want to recognize yet. And that is this: Putin may be the embodiment of the problem, but in fact, as long as the Russian Federation exists as an imperial state, it will remain a threat to world peace and therefore must be dismantled. Among the parts that must be dismantled are its union republics, its regions, and in the form of oblasts and krais, and especially, and this is something that now is increasingly gaining attention, by peoples who have not been recognized as single peoples by Moscow, but who very much are. And the collapse of Russia's system of state administration means that those peoples, they include the Circassians in the first instance, but also the Ukrainians of the so-called Kliny, the wedges across the Russian Federation, have a better chance of escaping Russian imperialism than at any point in the past. Fourth, the Circassians also, like these other groups, have allies within the Russian Federation who are, in fact, ethnic Russians, but not Muscovite in their loyalty. Those people, too, suffer under the Muscovite yoke, and many of them, and this is something that I don't think Circassians are as aware of as they should be. Many of those people now view the Circassians as a nation playing a leadership role in the future transformation of the post-Russian reality, as being much like that played by the three Baltic nations, the Estonians, Latvians, and Lithuanians at the end of Soviet times. Had Stalin not made the mistake of annexing the Baltic countries and Western Ukraine, my guess is that the USSR would still be with us. But having gone too far in that direction, it's now come back to haunt him. It's backfired, and Circassians will be the beneficiaries. And fifth, to reiterate something I said before, but which is, I think, absolutely important to understand. When there was, in Soviet times, and initially in post-Soviet Russia, some attention to maintaining the integrity of state institutions, the possibility for an outlier like the Circassians to achieve their goals was much less than it is now, when Putin has done everything in his power to destroy those institutions. Because now the Circassians are in a position not much worse off than the Tatars of Kazan, and much better than many of the other non-Russian peoples. And that's something that I think Circassians need to recognize. Putin is increasingly making mistakes, but his biggest one is that by destroying institutions, he has meant that what will emerge after the end of the Russian Federation will not be a diminished Russia surrounded by a number of former autonomous republics, but an entirely new architecture in which peoples who have long been submerged will recover. The most important of that group, seems to me, are the Circassians, if they will understand what's going on and work to do it. Now, unfortunately, some may conclude from this enumeration of the challenges that Circassia faces, that the prospects for Circassians are so bad, at least immediately, and decide that the best course is to retreat into an inactive pessimism. At the same time, others are likely to conclude that the Circassians are going to win whatever they do, and thus fail to act now. Both those positions are self-defeating. The first, it means because the Circassians would in that event, forego all the advantages of the situation today that the situation today presents them with. And second, because it would give Moscow at least temporary victories it certainly doesn't deserve, and that none of the people should have to suffer. Instead, Circassians must, as a group, as a community, recognize that they need to act, and act carefully and thoughtfully. And that means that they must recognize that while they are close to victory, this could be snatched from them if they don't adopt the right strategies and tactics. And that means, first and foremost, that they must recognize that the international environment has changed. It is now vastly more important for Circassians to work in European institutions than unfortunately is with American ones. The future of this part of the world is much more going to be determined in places like Ankara, Brussels, Paris, and Berlin than it is in Washington, D.C., at least for the next several years. That is, as an American, I'm deeply ashamed and horrified that this should be the case. But I'm telling you that unless Circassians understand that and assume that what they have done in the past, often in the United States, is where they should be focusing their effort, they're going to lose out. Europe and Turkey are the places to focus after Ukraine and the fraternal peoples inside the current borders of the Russian Federation. In doing that, in moving toward developing new support, the Circassians must keep in mind one of the oldest rules of politics. It's much easier to lose your supporters than it is to gain new ones. That means that one has to think about what one says and does with an eye to how will this help us maintain our alliances or develop them. And that means is even more difficult now that the focus of this is going to be in Europe and Turkey and Kiev rather than in Washington. At the same time, the Circassians must be ready, willing, and they certainly are able to reach out not only to non-Russian nations, but to Russian regionalists in the North Caucasus and more generally across the Russian Federation. Not only will that give Circassians a seat at the table for what is going to be a comprehensive reordering of the territory Moscow now nominally controls, but it will ensure that after that redivision takes place, the Circassian nation will be in a much better position to survive and flourish than it would be if it remains an outsider. That's going to be difficult. It goes against all the kinds of feelings people have as members of an ethnic community long oppressed. But unless it is done, then there's a great danger that Circassians will come out of all this much less well off than would otherwise be the case. In addition, the Circassians have to recognize that their unique resource, the diaspora, can be a force multiplier and must be. One of the things that I very much hope is that the Circassians will develop a single internet site that reports the news on a daily basis about Circassia in a multitude of languages so that people will keep up with it. It's often very difficult to track down the news about Circassia. We have, thanks to scholars like Adel Bashqawi, we know a great deal about the past. We know a whole lot less about what happened last week, and yet what happened last week may prove as fateful as anything that happened a century or more ago. I would urge you, if you do nothing else at this conference, to commit yourselves to creating a portal, multi-language, so you can toggle among it, Turkish, Circassian, Arabic, English, French, German, and Ukrainian, so that people can keep up. I'm more than happy to help and work, having been present at the creation of the old RFERL Daily Report, Newsline, and more recently Window on Eurasia. I know how to do those sorts of things. But if you do that, you will then find that you build on the support you now have, because people will have easy access to the information that so many of you possess, but are not currently in a position to share. And the last 2 points I want to make are these. Circassians need to recognize that they will only be strong if they are united, but they will only be united if they recognize that being united doesn't mean a totalitarian agreement on everything. It is terribly important that Circassians agree on certain basic principles, but it is not critical that they agree on everything. That's one of the hardest things to do politically, but it is one of the most necessary. Because unless it is done, I promise you, the Russian security services know very, very well how to promote division and how to exploit it. And therefore, that's a critical dimension. And finally, the Circassians must be alive to this. The closer they come to achieving their goal of a revived Circassia, the more violent and subversive Moscow will become. Because this time around, the demise of the Russian Empire is going to be far more radical and may even lead to the end of Russia as a state entirely. Faced with that fear, Russians in Moscow are going to behave much worse than they've behaved in the past. There are ways to fight that. One of the best ways is with information. And that comes back to what I wanted to make the centerpiece of my remarks this year, the need to create a portal to keep people updated on what's going on in Circassia and among Circassians, so that you will be able to count on all of the people in countries of goodwill to support your effort. The evidence is clear once people see it. But if they don't see the evidence and the only thing they hear about Circassia appears in Russian first, I promise you they will get the wrong message. Again, I want to thank the organizers of this meeting for allowing me, a very much an outsider, to take part, a friendly outsider, a supporter, but an outsider nonetheless. I also hope that the day is not far distant when the ICIC will be able to hold such sessions, not in foreign capitals, but in a revived and flourishing Circassian state. And I hope, God willing, that I will have the chance to meet with you all again then and there. Thank you.
Thank you, sir, for really important points. And thank you for your support, and thank you for your friendship. Actually, I'm one of the biggest fans, by the way. I always read everything that you write.
I'm flattered.
Thank you. Thank you, sir. Our next speaker is a Ukrainian politician. She was elected to Verkhovna Rada, the Ukrainian parliament, in 2019. She holds several positions related to European integration, including deputy chairperson of the Committee on Ukrainians in Integration into the European Union, and chairperson of the Ukrainian delegation to the Parliamentary Assembly of the Council of Europe. Mariia Mezentseva. Hello.
Thank you so much, dear Orhan. Hello, dear honorable speakers, dear ladies and gentlemen. My biggest pleasure to speak to you on behalf of Ukrainian Parliament. There will be also my colleague following after me. We represent not only the Parliament, but I think one of the most important temporary special commissions of the Ukrainian Verkhovna Rada, which we prolonged for another year of work, and it deals with indigenous people of the Russian Federation. We would love to call it of the fallen empire or somehow else, but diplomacy doesn't allow us to do that. However, so currently we have already we are in the second year of our activities. We have recently presented our big annual report, which also covers our activities with regards to Circassian community and indigenous people of Czerkessia. We are pushing forward to the agenda of Ukrainian Parliament in the nearest sessions. We have extra 2 of them by the end of this year, to finally vote on the recognition of genocide conducted by Russia against Czerkessia. We all, well, not maybe not everyone knows, not in this conference, but among Ukrainian parliamentarians and in Ukraine generally, about the tragedy which occurred 200 years ago and was considered to be one of the most sort of successful genocides conducted by Russia in terms of achieving its aims, decreasing the number of population from 2 million to 3 or 4% staying at the indigenous territory, others fleeing or being killed, tortured, or forced to be deported. Currently, my personal aim and the aim of the members of this special commission is to promote and support the Circassian people by voting this special law, which passed already the Line Committee on Human Rights and should be voted in the Verkhovna Rada. Of course, we keep on our ties and we continue to communicate with the Circassians across the world. I have personally my honor to meet the Circassian community in in New York this year in March, and we hope to continue our communication and strengthening it, because today Ukraine commemorates yet another anniversary of genocide conducted against our nation, against our families, against our grandmas and grandfathers. And we truly believe that in parallel, because the world, not knowing the very nature of this both genocides against Circassians and against Ukrainians, brings more question why this long-lasting war, this long-lasting genocide, this long-lasting and multiple war crimes are continuing. So I truly support the fact that we have common aims, common enemies, and already common achievements. So I would like to thank on behalf of the Ukrainian Parliament and our special commission for you standing up with us, being vocal, being unrestful in our battle for the joint victory. And I think my colleague Yaroslav, who is already with us, can continue to give a feedback on our activities in the Verkhovna Rada. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you, Mariia. Thank you very much. We thank you for your support. And we need you to know that the Circassian people actually support the Ukrainian nation to the end. And we really stand with you in your war, and we will try to do whatever that we can to spread at least your voice in the places and in the countries that we are living in, and to put a spotlight on your cause too. Thank you very much.
Я бы хотела сказать одно слово. Я Мариана Шару, глава Черкесского центра фонда в Нью-Йорке. Спасибо вам большое, Мария, за вашу поддержку. Я хотела к вам обратиться лично, узнать, находитесь ли вы в безопасности. Судя по вашей одежде, вы находитесь в не самых лучших местах.
No, I'm in the best city in the world. I'm in Kharkiv. Okay. It's all good. It's just great. You know, like a home hoodie.
Okay, that's great. Thank you for your support.
Sorry, Ms. Mezentseva, I personally want to thank you for your efforts for the recognition of the Circassian genocide. We follow your efforts so close. Not only in Verkhovna Rada, but in the PACE also. You are very active. I wish the best success to you and your friends, and Ms. Yurchyshyn as well. Actually, I don't want to take your time so long, but the meaning of the recognition by the Verkhovna Rada is ultimately important for us. This will be a very big step for our next legal actions in the European Parliament and in the other international institutions. And because of this opportunity, I personally wanted to thank to you and your colleagues. We hope to see the recognition in the close time. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, dear Mariia, dear Mustafa. I was so excited. I will not take the time of Yaroslav, but I forgot to mention one important battle that we had in the Council of Europe Parliamentary Assembly. And I can't express my feelings when we finally reached a decision in one of the resolutions to say that the most important strategy against Russia is decolonization, is giving you freedom as well to the other colonized nations and indigenous people, about which many colleagues from 45 countries globally, including Turkey, Northern Africa, because Council of Europe is wider than European continent. They did not know about it, and they reckon to support you, because for them the most important is the rights of indigenous people, own language, own culture, own traditions, own history. The same did OSCE Parliamentary Assembly, European Parliament, and I'm sure others will follow. Thank you so much. Yaroslav, I don't want to take your time because I know you have to run very soon.
Thank you.
Okay,
So let me, I will take not a long time because what I want said. First of all, we need to think about our future, about future of independent Черкесиan state, and as our experience and your experience, if we will not have a voice, united position on the global level, we will have a big problem, because in reality, yes, about Ukraine, about Cherkess state, about our history, not a big number of people knew something, not even more. Due to that, yes, our activity is not only in Ukrainian parliament. I 100% sure that we adopt proclamation about recognition of genocide of Cherkess people in our parliament. It's happened soon, but we do need to recognize this genocide on a global level, on the level of OSCE, of Council of Europe, or European Parliament, and we do understand that indigenous people and Cherkessian people don't have a voice there as a nation which still don't have a state, but we could be this voice, we as Ukrainian people and nation under the Russia pressure, we who suffering for colonization as you suffer and still suffering. So we will and we would your voice there till you will have your own voice. We hope it happened very soon. So in reality, we do understand that big country try to not notice our suffering. We have in our history, when we lose our statehood on the beginning of 20th century, and you lose your statehood earlier. Why? Because the global players are not us. They do not understand what happened in Russia. They not estimate Russia as a colonial empire still, even after USSR time. Due to that, for us, we do have some proclamations from the level of Council of Europe, and I do thank to Mariia because she very active in this sphere. We in our commission have Mikita Paturaev, who is a vice president of Parliamentarian Assembly, OSCE. We very actively work with new elected European Parliament, with Parliament Assembly of NATO. We do understand that it's a mechanism. mechanism to recognize Circassian people, Ichkerian people, our indigenous people from Russia, recognize Russia as still an empire, and loudly said that imperialism, colonialism can't exist in our 21st century. It's our joint goal. We do have very hard time in our past, but I hope we will find for our freedom, for your freedom, and in future we will have a negotiation as independent states and work closely and together for the best future for our our country. And we do have requests to your diaspora will be active. We know that you are very active, but now it's a period, it's a momentum when we can raise a question about Ruski Mir, about Russian ideology as a colonial imperial ideology, as Nazism or communism. So we do have this moment, and we must actively use that. Thanks for your fighting, for your activity. 100 years, what you saved, your mentality, your identity. We just can imagine how it was hard. But in the future, we will hope we can read glory to Ukraine and glory to independent Czerkessia.
Thank you very much, Mr. Yurchyshyn. And hearing such words is giving a high motivation to us. Actually, you understand our position very well, and yes, we don't have a state, and we cannot establish in diplomatic relations with the international institutions and other independent states. And being our voice in these institutions is essential, is very precious for our struggle. Thank you so much for this, and we want actually we want to strengthen our relation, our cooperation in this. Maybe you are aware, we made many calls to Circassian youth to avoid war in Ukraine, against Ukraine, and actually many Circassian youth left Russia, and now they are living in different countries. Actually, I want to give you one important problem they face now. Many of them cannot renew their passports from Russian consulates, and now they are stuck in the country where they are in. They cannot use their Russian passport because because they are expired, and they cannot renew it from the consulate. And telling this problem to the international institutions is not so easy for us. But this must be discussed in the international institutions, and this must be solved somehow. These people need a citizenship, like Circassian citizenship, maybe. I don't know, but as you said, we need to find a mechanism to solve this. And I personally know some Circassians having this problem, and we cannot generate any solution for this. I wanted to make you aware of this problem. Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Yaroslav. Thank you, Ms. Mariia. It was a pleasure for us, and we were very honored to have you in our conference.
Я бы хотела от себя тоже добавить, что несмотря на то время сложное для вас, вы поддерживаете нас, для нас это очень важно. Спасибо вам большое, рада знакомству, надеюсь лично познакомиться в ближайшее время. Свободы, желаю вам свободы, скорейшей победы в вашей стране, Украина, да, свободы Украине.
Mustafa Bey, ben de birkaç şey söylemek istiyorum.
Sorry, our chairman wants to give some message to you. I will translate.
Birleşik Çerkesya Konseyi olarak Çerkes milletinin varlık mücadelesini ve bağımsız Çerkesya talebini tüm hukuki, tarihi, kültürel ve insani dayanakları ile dünyanın gündemine getirmek amacıyla organize ettiğimiz 2. Uluslararası Bağımsız Çerkesya Konferansı'na katılımınız için sonsuz teşekkürlerimi sunuyorum.
I would like to extend my thank to you for your participation to our conference as we organized as the Council of United Circassia on behalf of the human values and on behalf of the having the voicing the independence goal of Circassians. Thank you for your participation.
Bildiğiniz gibi Çerkesler Rus Çarlığı tarafından uluslararası hukuk ve Birleşmiş Milletler Soykırım Sözleşmesi'nde yer alan soykırım tanımının tüm hükümlerini kapsayacak şekilde soykırıma uğratılmış, sağ kalan nüfusunun büyük çoğunluğu ana yurdundan sürülmüş bir millettir. Bu nedenle Ukrayna parlamentosunun en kısa sürede Çerkes soykırımını kabul etmesini dört gözle beklediğimizi ifade etmek istiyorum. Kendilerine de bu soykırım teklifinin kabul edilmesi için gösterdikleri gayret için teşekkürlerimi sunuyorum.
Additionally, he wants to thank to you for your efforts for the recognition of the Circassian genocide, for the draft resolution you prepared and you delivered to the Verkhovna Rada, and he says that the Circassian genocide is a 100% genocide, which is covering all the articles of the genocide definition in the international declarations, international agreements, and because of this important issue, you showed very efficient effort, and I want to thank you for these efforts.
Teşekkür.
Evet.
Evet.
Başkanım, başka söylemek istediğiniz bir şey var mı?
Yani,
Slava Ukrayna o zaman.
yaşasın bağımsız Ukrayna,
Yaroslav.
yaşasın bağımsız Çerkesya.
Slava Ukraine, Slava Çerkesya.
We hope you will finish this criminal invasion soon, and we believe that you would. We do, actually. Ukraine.
Героям слава. Thank you for your support, brothers and sisters.
Thank you for your existence.
Thank you.
Now, our speaker is a businessman living in New York, a member of the International Circassian Council, and former administrator in Eskişehir Caucasus Culture Association, Mr. Hakan Cinaz. Please.
Thank you, Orhan. Thank you. My name is Hakan Cinaz. I'm a representative of International Circassian Council and member of the North Caucasus Committee. I would say that I'm proud of being a member of Circassian independence movement. First of all, I would like to congratulate all United Circassia Council executives for holding the second Independent Circassia International Conference. I would also like to state that I find it very valuable for all the participants to be here, and I would like to thank them all very much for their presence. Hard to speak on the last part. Actually, many people explained the processes. In my speech today, I want to bring attention and highlight the importance of international recognition of the Circassian genocide, which marked the beginning of the Circassian diaspora political movement. As everyone knows, official recognition of genocides aims to heal the nations that have suffered and to ensure that such atrocities do not happen again in the future. Circassian and Caucasus nations, after 160 years in diaspora, have realized they can no longer sustain their existence through the cultural association they have maintained for the last 80 years. Their fear of extinction has grown daily as Russian policies in their homeland have become more oppressive. Before 2014 Sochi Winter Olympics, political protests began in Turkey by Circassian, followed by political efforts. As a result, Georgia, a member of United Nations, became the first country to recognize the Circassian genocide. The Circassians will never forget this historical step taken by brotherly nation Georgia. Thank you so much to them. As a similar 101-year-long struggle for independence that the Circassian fought against the Russian between 1763 and 1864 is repeating today on Ukrainian soil. There is no difference between the Russian Empire or Soviet Union or Russian Federation today, and it would be foolish to expect any change in the future for us. I wish success to Ukrainian fighting on the front lines in their cause, and may God be their helper. Mrs. Mariia and Mr. Yaroslav, they explained already, but we know the important steps have taken in the application made by Circassian organizations to the Ukrainian Rada for recognition of Circassian genocide. We are aware of how intense the war environment and the agendas are. But by the way, we, as a Circassian diaspora, we are kindly requesting the official recognition of Circassian genocide by Ukrainian Rada as soon as possible. Ukrainians' recognition of the genocide will serve as an important reference point for the right of the Circassians and other Caucasus nations to self-determinations on the international platform. It will also support the momentum of ongoing political efforts in Europe and in United States. I wish success to all nations fighting for their independence in their sacred struggles. Slava Ukraine, Воробцов, Circassia. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
Apso, Hakan.
So,
Воробцов.
now our guest is journalist, author, and activist. He is Mr. Beslan Kmuzov, if I'm right with the name, the family name.
Beslan Kmuzov.
Kmuzov. Ah, Kmuzov,
Yes,
please.
yes. Well, focus общи. I am very glad to congratulate all our colleagues. If what language should I speak? Let me speak English. Yet I was announced as Russian speaking, but well, we Circassian nation have several problems. A lot of these problems already mentioned Mr. Paul Goble, and I would like repeat some of them and to add some new. First of all, I would like to say about what is Circassia today. Circassia today is several regions. As you know, Kabardino-Balkaria, Circassia, Republic of Adigay, part of Stavropol Krai, and all the Krasnodar Krai. The Krasnodar Krai, Krasnodar region is it's almost 70% of Circassian lands, and we have a big challenge to come back to this region. And as you know, there are not Circassian population almost at all. Only a few hundreds of Shapsuks live in Krasnodar Krai. And let we know what Krasnodar Krai is. It's a very developed industrial region. There are situated 3 international airports, 3 big seaports. Let me say that 70% of Russian oil are transported to the Europe through Novorossiysk, Cinaz seaport. 8 million people live on our lands, and it's very big challenge for us to change their mind and make them vote for independent Circassia. 8 million Russian language people. How can we do this? I think nobody would be argue that we shouldn't do new genocide. Our task is make them our citizens. Let them be Circassians too. If you don't know, I have communication with those people who live in Krasnodar, who support independent Kuban Republic. I argued with them a long time. Now they are ready to live in a country which is which should be named as Circassia. In English, Circassia. In Russian, Черкесия. Therefore, I think we have big we should have big advances if we continue to negotiate with these people, to let them join to us, to feel a part of our nation. It's very easy to to propose to promote Circassian idea. When people, Russian language, English language, got know what Habza is, they like it very much. They want to study it. They desire to join us. Therefore, I think we should be concentrated on our Habza and join people to us to live in Habza laws. They are very simple. They're very planned and very honest. Therefore, I think we have a future if we will speak with our future citizens about Habza and about how to live in Circassian state. This is first. The second, what will be a Circassian state? I think Circassia will be a member of European Union. We have all possibilities to be a very rich and good state. Nowadays, the gross domestic product in Krasnodar Krai is almost $3,000 per capita a year. It is higher than in Bulgaria. But people live very poor. A lot of money goes to oligarch people such as Tkachov and nowadays governor of this region. In fact, people have a salary $300 per month, and they think this is good money. A lot of people have less salary in very rich Krasnodar Krai. Therefore, we have opportunity to make these people richer, to let them live in better conditions. And I think if we will promise such prosperity, they will be glad to accept our repatriants back to Krasnodar. Therefore, I think we will be a very prospective member of Euro Union, but I'm sure that we will be a NATO member. And it is very difficult for this region, for all this region, Krasnodar Krai, Kabardino-Balkaria, Karachay-Cherkessia. We should do a lot of work. We shall make our military forces by the NATO standards. I saw how hard and difficult this work was in Georgia. They need 20 years to satisfy NATO standards. We should work 20 or 30 years to be a good NATO member. And of course, we should refuse all the nuclear weapon. As I see, we don't need nuclear weapon at all for our enemies. I think our potential enemy, it's Russia. It's situated very close to us. If something will explode in Russia, we should suffer too. Therefore, we don't need nuclear weapon. We can easily refuse of it. if there is some nuclear weapon on our lands, let someone get it away and have it as long as he wants. But we need nuclear energy, nuclear power stations. I think it will be very useful for us. It will allow to train good physicians, good scientists. It will base for school, and it will be future for our children to be good specialists, good engineers, good scientists. Therefore, I think France, Ukraine, and United States will be participants of our nuclear programs. They let their companies and their specialists to come to us and build new nuclear nuclear power stations. I think it will be a big plus for our economy. And well, I think Circassia will be very democratic, very prosperous European state. And this last thing I would like to mention about it's Abkhazian question. Well, we all know that Abkhazians are our brothers, but today Abkhazians fight against Ukraine. Abkhazians fight for Russia. I think we should stop our relation with Abkhazia, with Abkhazian non-recognized state, and let we concentrate our attention on relation with Georgia. Georgia is the first country who recognized our genocide, and we should negotiate with democratic power forces in Georgia. I think this is our door to international recognition. Thank you, everybody. But the last thing I would like to say is to say thank you for our Ukrainian friends. Хотів би подякувати пані Мезенцеву та пана Ярослава за їх підтримку нашого народу. Я сподіваюся, що ми зможемо допомагати українцям у їх боротьбі. Це боротьба не лише за Україну, а й за життя та за справедливість у всьому світі. Слава Україні!
Slava Ukraini.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Beslan. Actually, it was very interesting to know what's going on inside. And it's very interesting to know that we can have possible allies inside Russia and in the north of Circassia. So thank you very much for this very interesting information. And we were honored that you were with us. Thank you, sir. Now, our speaker is associated professor in the academic at the State University in Turkey, Secretary General of the Council of the United Circassia, former Program Development Advisor at ULEX Rule of Law Mission in Kosovo, 2010-2013, Mr. Mustafa Canbek. Hello?
Yes, thank you very much for this opportunity. Actually, I will not take your time. My words are so well-known issues, especially. I want to draw your attention to the two important things. As Circassians, we need to focus on this. First, many international agreements, international declarations, and resolutions are already recognizing our rights. For example, like Adel Bashqawi's speech, the UN has a declaration for the indigenous peoples and their rights. In 2024, in this year, and in last year, especially because of this Ukrainian war, the PACE and OSCE has declared some important resolutions, and all the Circassians must be aware of these important documents. For example, they are mentioning about the illegitimacy of current Russian administration. They mention about the rights for indigenous people. They mention about decolonization of Russia is essential requirement for the sustainable peace. These are written in these documents, and we all need to be aware about this. But the importance, yes, they are telling indigenous people, but they don't say Circassians, they don't say Chechens, they don't say Dagestanis, they just say indigenous. And I believe this is a kind of ignoring. When you classified all different people in one word, it means ignoring the specific nations and peoples. We need to have a statement like Circassians have right to self-determination. We need to resolutions like Circassians are having struggle under Russian atrocity. Yes, others also having this kind of atrocity. I am aware of this, but we need to be labeled with our own nation, with our own ethnic identity. And later on, we can have a chance to go further. Later on, we can have chance to have diplomatic relations with international actors. This is important. Having the statement like indigenous or minorities mustn't be enough for us. We need to go further, and we have to make fight for this. And the second one, it is about genocide. You are already aware of this. Genocide is written in the books, and there are countless books, countless articles, countless reports on that. I personally know Adel Bashqawi is making research for years on this. But written documents, written books are not enough to restore the justice. It is not enough. Russian authors are writing Circassian genocide. Yes, they don't say genocide, but they confess all the conditions for the genocides. And we can see it in Fadeev, in Sherbina, in Venyukov, in Tikhomorov, and all others mention about Circassian genocide. And the Western authors also, Western researchers, they are also writing books about Circassian genocide, like Richmond, like Steinwert, like Wamling, and others. But these are not enough for us. These are not enough to restore the justice. We have to work harder. We have to have relations with the international partners. There are two ways to handle the genocide. The first one is prosecution. We are talking about a genocide which is committed 160 years ago. And today, there is no suspicious to prosecute for the prosecution. And we cannot use this way because international law says that the criminal must be in front of the judge for this judgment. There is a condition, special condition for the genocide. The criminal must be in front of the judge for the judgment. This is the main condition for the genocide, especially. And we cannot use this way. For now, it is not possible. Yes, it is also arguable. There are many missing points in that. There are many gaps we can argue, but for now, it is closed. We need to be stronger to fill these gaps. And the second way, our main strategy is based on official recognition by the parliaments. This is our main strategy. This is our main way to follow. If we can achieve this with Ukraine, I believe other countries also, like Baltic countries, especially Baltic countries, they have experienced like Russian occupation. They have experienced Russian atrocity, and they are more familiar what is going on, what was happened in the past. And sometimes I am giving this example, telling about Russian atrocity to an Irish person, a person from Netherlands. It is not easy, but when you try to talk about this to an Estonian, to a Lithuanian person, they can immediately understand you because their story is similar to us. Yes, different religion, different culture, different language, but they have a history like our history because of Russia, because of this brutal Russia. And they can understand us. We have to use this familiarity, and we need to have relations with them. Yeah, thank you so much for listening to me, and I would like to thank to you all the participants for this conference. Yeah, now I'm giving, yeah.
Thank you, sir. But I have something to say. I have 2 points actually to talk about. The first one is what's going on inside the homeland, and that we must be aware of. By the Russian law now, it's a law that was signed by Putin, that you can force people to go to the army over their will. So now, just for us to know, it is legal to kidnap our brothers and put them in the front lines in the Russian war, and to be sent back to their mothers and families in boxes. It is legal by the Russian law. And in a personal experience, Russia has no law. Russia has the law of power and authority. Policemen there are corrupted. Army is corrupted the way that they do not respect any of pure humanity or rights, and they know how to play with that and to accuse you with crimes. As an example, in 2 months ago almost, one of our brothers, he refused the mobilization, and he was shot dead. He was killed in front of his mother, wife, and son because of his refusing to go to the army. So in our case, especially Circassians, either you go or you die, or you leave again your homeland. So it's some kind of exiling our people again out of homeland. And we all know how many people already left because they are refusing this war. As you mentioned before, for our Ukrainian brothers, that we have this problem of the passports now. We have this problem of our staying in other countries that have nothing to know about our genocide or exiling. So we have problems actually with our documentations, with our safety. And this is the second part that I want to talk about, is to establish a document, an international document that Circassians can use as Circassians. And this can start from the countries that recognize us. We, of course, want Ukraine to do this with us because of their international position and how the international community is recognizing the situation of Ukraine. So we can have Circassian passports. Actually, it's doable. It is doable by the law. It's not something that's impossible. We can do that. And we want a country, an independent country, to recognize this document so it can be usable for our guys who are refusing to be in this crime and not to participate in this craziness that this criminal state is using against the free and peaceful nations. So recognition is very important for us. I support what Mr. Mustafa said. I support that we have to have a strategy, a written plan, a time schedule, how we have to do this. Most of the world now, especially European world, they know about us, they do. We need just to work from inside to recognize ourselves first. And this thing will be with educate our people. When somebody is asking you, where are you from? You have to answer, I'm from Circassia. This is the beginning of telling the world about us. I will not deceive you. I will tell you the truth. In Jordan, as an example, if you ask the Circassian, where are you from? He will tell you, I'm from Amman or Salt or any other place. And you need to dig deep until he tells you that he's Circassian. And this is a problem. Same thing is happening in Turkey. Same thing is happening in Syria. So I cannot blame people if they do not know Circassia. I cannot blame people if they do not know our history, because we are not talking about it. So especially in Europe, and Turkey, big 3 red lines under Turkey, because they are the biggest amount of us are living there. We need to start using the word, I am Circassian, I am from Circassia. This is very important, very important. So starting from here, And it will not take a long time, by the way. It's really easy to spread it in a very fast way. We have all the social medias now. We have all the people watching our region. Caucasus and eastern of Ukraine now are under the microscope. So we have to use this opportunity, and we have to start saying, I am Circassian from Circassia. That's it. This is my identity. I don't belong to any other nation, with all the respect for other nations. But this is to preserve, not to refuse. Thank you very much. Thank you for all our participants. Thank you for our audience in this conference. And allow me to give the microphone for Mr. Mustafa Canbek. And thank you for listening to me.
Thank you, Orhan, so much.
Orhan.
Evet.
Başkanım bir şey söyleyecek misiniz?
Tabii.
Bitireceğiz.
İkinci Uluslararası Bağımsız Çerkesya Konferansı'nın Çerkez ulusuna hayırlı, uğurlu olmasını diliyorum. İnanıyoruz ki Çarlık Rusyası nasıl yıkıldıysa, Sovyet Sosyalist Cumhuriyetler Birliği nasıl yıkıldıysa, Rusya Federasyonu da yıkılacak. Zaten bu sürece girmiş durumda. Ordusuna asker bulamayan, Kore'den asker getirerek savaştırmak zorunda kalan bir devletin ayakta kalması mümkün değil. Çünkü artık Sovyet halkı da kendi rejimine inanmıyor, kendi devletine inanmıyor. Artık bu yolun sonuna geldiğinin en önemli göstergesidir. Bağımsızlık uzakta değil. Yeter ki biz kendimize olan inancımızı, güvenimizi yitirmeyelim. Birliğimizi, beraberliğimizi kaybetmeyelim. Eğer bunu başarabilecek olursak, kendi ömrümüz içerisinde bağımsız Çerkesya'yı göreceğimize bütün kalbimle inanıyorum. Tüm katılımcılara, hepinize gösterdiğiniz sabır ve katılımınız için teşekkür ediyorum.
I wish the second international conference on independence Circassia to be successful and to have greater outcomes for the future. We believe that Russia will not survive so long as Tsarist Russia, as Soviet Russia collapsed. Russian Federation also will collapse, and this duration has already started. And a country which is importing soldiers from North Korea to make war in its lands cannot survive so long. This is an indicator of the situation within Russia. And the Russians also within Russia, they don't believe their government, they don't trust their government, and they already want to change something in Russia. And especially today, we saw some Russian opponents also together with us, and they were willing to change something in Russian government. And finally, Kenan Tamate says, thanks to all participants and all audience for the cooperation for this conference. We are hoping to see you in next events. Thank you so much.